Welcome back to another video. It's our Monday update airing on Tuesday video. And crypto's been a roller coaster. Hey, last week we complained that it was kind of dead even the entire time, going straight sideways, and now we got some movement. It was just in the wrong direction. Last week we were kind of steady ticking back up. We thought we were recovering, and whether or not you want to say it's manipulation, whether or not you want to say it's because of stock market and so much crypto is being traded on the stock market, whether or not you want to say it's, tariffs, because some people blame everything on tariffs. The plumbing went out at their house. It's because of tariffs. I don't think tariffs are going to have this worldwide relation. China, again, for the seventh time in the last 10 years, has banned cryptocurrency again. So I think it's a number of different things. I took advantage of it. If y'all follow my videos, y'all follow my live, I told y'all, this part right here, I told y'all I took a lot of my crypto from different projects, like DIMO, Natix, Silencio, WeatherXM, maybe a little bit of helium. I'm just kind of looking at my projects right now, kind of trying to figure it out. And basically I combined them like superpowers, superheroes, and combined them. And I ended up with about $1,000 worth of USDT, DC or something. And I basically turned it into Solana. And what I have been doing for the last month is playing this, if Solana wants to play this game, I'm gonna play the game with it. And as it hit, 130, 133, I would buy. And I had about 7.5, not quite 8 Solana. It gave me right at about $1,000. And what I was doing is that when Solana got up to 143, 144, I would sell and just patiently wait for it to go back down. It'd go back down to 130, 133, 134, somewhere around that, and I'd buy it. And then when it went back to 145, I sold it. And it doesn't sound like it's that much, but when you have 7 Solana and the price goes up $10, that's $70. Where if I kept in these projects, it'd be going in the opposite direction right now. So, with Solana recently, a couple of days ago, I sold in this 145 range, somewhere up in here. And I watched it go up a little bit more, and I said, oh, well, that's the chance I took. And then it came back down, and I just waited. And it came down hard last night. And when it went to right at about 133.10, I think it was, somewhere around there, I caught it and bought in again. So I'm back up to about 7.5, a little over 7.5 Solana, and I'm just going to ride it out now. Now, can it go down? Absolutely. Hey, I just have to ride down. Like, do we think Solana's not going to ever get above $133 again? I don't think we have to really worry about that. But, we did see this very, very hard drop last night. And same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin dropped. Oh, man. Bitcoin dropped about $3,000 an hour. A little more than $3,000. So, they got some people calling for even more drops come tomorrow by the time you're watching this. When stock markets open back up, they will close today because of the holiday. I think you could see some more blood in the water. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened over this 3-day weekend, and we're going to see what happens. Some people are going to panic as usual. I know people in my Discord say buy the dip, just buy the dip. But I made a joke which ain't that funny, but I bought so many dips, I own the damn dip factory at this point. I can give out as much dip as I want. You want what kind of chips you want with it. It's crazy. Some of us don't have money to buy the dip anymore. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with crypto. You got people arguing if we're in the bear market. Hey, and people saying we've been in the bear market for X amount of months now and all this stuff like that. You still got volume going through. And with bear markets, you see this huge drop in volume. And from what I'm reading and what other people are saying, you haven't seen that drop in volume yet. You got some people saying that this is just what we're gonna have to expect from now on. You're not gonna have these full bear cycles and full bull cycles. You're just gonna have this, with ETFs and stuff like that. You got money tied up in stock markets now, and it's going to be attached to that to a point, which was one thing crypto wasn't supposed to be. But I've always said, if you follow my videos and my lives, that's the good we take with the bad. Some people wanted this to get pushed to more and more people, and one of the ETFs. Well, now we're kind of tied to it. So, all right, let's start going over some of our projects and see what's going on with those. I will say, one thing that I found was some of these projects in a week have not changed pricing at all. Like I'm talking about to the 10th of a cent. That's crazy. I've never really seen the amount of projects that haven't moved. I'm sure they moved a little bit during the week. Um, some didn't really have a huge price dump yesterday like your bigger tokens did. So let's start taking a look at them. Before we go any further, please also make sure you hit the like on this video, hit the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And let's get to it. All right, starting off, list has not really moved since last week, but I wanted to keep doing videos just so we can see if there's any kind of updates with anything. So first, I'm going to say, still at number one. It's hard to really say what I'm making because I have so many stations running this app. I have Pis with DIY stations. I have computer desktops running these stations. So, but I have a good amount of stations running them. Luckily, I have access to different external IPs, but is Earnapp. And I'm going to tell you, I'm kicking ass with Earnapp. You can see that. So you can see, like, even though I made a claim on this just about 2 weeks ago, I'm back up to $107 earned. You can see what I made lifetime, and it works. Now, I know I have a couple of referrals out there. I can see what y'all are making. I have no idea who's who or what part of the world that you're in. And some of them aren't really making that much. Again, for full transparency, if you're only doing like one station, probably won't be that much. But unlike grass that can only work on a certain type of station, this will work on Pis. If you have a Wingbits DIY device, Raspberry Pi with client, desktop, Windows desktop, basically anything that's a computer, you can run it on. So check my referral code below, and it'll help you start off with some bonus points and a few dollars or something like that once you reach a certain amount of time on there. But what's cool is it also just pays you out directly to PayPal or Amazon gift card. You don't have to worry about crypto. You don't have to worry about a wallet and selling, all that kind of stuff like that. When you go, you can get a cash out in PayPal, Amazon gift card, Wise, and you can set up auto redeem if you want. So that's that is Earnapp. Starting off next is going to be Geodnet, which is technically my number one DePin project. I don't consider Earnapp a DePin project. It's not really crypto tied to crypto. Geodnet has seen somewhat of a price decrease over the last week since our last video. So with Geodnet for the week, down 7%, which is really not that much. It was at 15 cents last week. It's at 14 cents this week. And it was actually holding pretty straight. It was in the green for a little while and came down. And then it took a dive with that. Not only say a dive, it went down a penny with that big drop we saw yesterday in the crypto markets. So the only real update we've gotten from Geodnet in the Discord, in the update section, you'll see where it says dual band and triple band base station upgrade program has been discontinued. It will not be restocked. In order to offer those who currently still own a dual band station, Geodnet is offering a station upgrade program. You fill out a form, and HiFix will review it and tell if you're eligible. Look, they have been offering an upgrade for a while now. So anybody who's still missed out, look, crypto projects are different. And I don't want to sit there and talk negative about anybody, but you can't join some of these crypto projects and not just check on updates every now and then. It amazes me, especially projects that are still in beta or testnet. You're supposed to be testing out these projects to see how they work. And there's always new updates on what you have to do and what's going on with some of these projects. And the fact that people don't even visit the Discord is a little surprising, but some people might have missed out on this. But this is Geonet. And I'm still very positive on the project. I am a little concerned that in 5 months you will see another halving, which that will hurt. So right now, while you're seeing $1.89 per day, again, let's just say this goes back to $2. Now you're making $1. A device is currently $695, and it's 4 to 6 weeks. Again, I am very, very positive on this project. I think Geodnet's going to be a very good project for the future, and probably lead DePin as one of the upper level projects. If you want, don't forget, you can get 10% off from HiFix by using that code on a Geodnet device. What the issue is going to be, though, is that when this halving occurs, well, even right now you're looking at a year for ROI. Some people, as long as the project is good and you're in it for the tech and that kind of stuff like that, makes you sleep better at night, then that's fine. 1 year might not be too bad. But when the halving occurs in June, you're looking at 2 years plus. Unless you use a discount, but and maybe if the token goes up, you're looking at about almost 2 years for ROI. I don't know what Geodnet's going to do to address this. This is why if you watched my video before, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. I'm probably going to do that a lot tonight. But this is why I don't like yearly halvings. I think they're lazy in tokenomics. I think there's something else that could have been set up. A lot of projects don't have yearly tokenomics, yearly halvings. So I think that's just my 2 cents. I know I'm grumpy, but I have two Geonet stations. I have 2 of them. So I am going to be affected by this halving. Luckily, I've ROI because I've had these stations for so long. I don't have to worry about that because I had these up before the halving 6 months ago. But we'll see what Geonet does. But I'm very positive on this project. I know it's getting a lot of use. This and Onocoy, there's a lot of people using their, was it RTK service or whatever it's called. So I'm happy for them and Onocoy. And let's move on. All right, moving on now to number 2, which is going to be Chirp. Chirp, we're going to be at about $1.07 per day. This hurts because, I mean, it just is continuously coming down compared to where we were not a few months ago. And I would hope Chirp would turn it around, especially with some of the recent announcements they made. But apparently, we're not going to get that, at least for right now. So Chirp has come down 14.5% just since last week. They were at 17.5 cents last week. They got up to about 18 cents, even a little peak right here to 19 cents. And then, kind of like everybody else, with this little crash we just recently had, they're down to 14.8, which is about 15 cents. So, we're down 2 cents. We wish we could have that it would hold up a little more. One announcement they've had is that they have staked 12.6% of the circulating supply. Staking matters. It shows long-term believers strengthen governance and align incentives around building real infrastructure, not hype. And they also started the Chirp subscriptions. And look, I've tried to make 2026 a year that I'm not so grumpy and so negative. But y'all know what I'm going to say, because I say it every video, is how are they going to start offering this stuff when there's not a lot of stations out there? Helium was way too far on one end, 900,000 stations, but there's you don't see any kind of push to get stations out there. No incentives to get the stations out there. In fact, to me, they're crippling the ability to get stations out there by still doing this stupid NFT thing and then allowing scalpers just to buy the NFTs immediately and then sell them for $400 more. Get rid of the NFT so that these stations can get in the hands. Now, can they still be scalped? Yes, but it's a lot harder when that scalper is going to have to get that device in, then worry about trying to have to sell it and ship it. With an NFT, you don't have to do any of that. So I hope Chirp can turn that around. But hey, at least they have taken a step towards this IoT network thing, and you can go take a look for it yourself. And as far as Chirp KAGE is concerned, I'm not even discussing it. I am not renewing. I think my little perks, whatever. You get the 10-kilometer perk and the magnet and all stuff like that. Comes up for expiration maybe in February, beginning of February. I'm not renewing it. There are just no beacons out here where I am. And even if I go into New Orleans or go into Baton Rouge, I don't see beacons. Every now and then I might see a beacon 10 kilometers away, and I'm not going hunt for it. There's just not a lot in my geographical area of the United States, a lot of beacons. So it's just not worth it. I know some of y'all get 10 beacons a day. Congratulations. I'm happy for y'all. I'm hoping y'all it's working out for you. For me, it just doesn't make sense. So there's that. All right, moving on. Number 3 is going to be ROVR. ROVR's one of the projects that I said in the last week has not changed at all. Is at 0.0075 right now. It was at 0.0075, maybe 76-ish a week ago. So it's held, which is good because we know even with that crash last night that this still held. So that's pretty strong. I've always said, ROVR somewhat at one point they were pegging to like a penny, no matter what was going on with the rest of the crypto world. So they seem to not be affected as much as by some of these price fluctuations. I don't know how they do it, but it doesn't hurt them as much. So I'm averaging again. I say it every week with ROVR. What I do is going to be different than what y'all do because this is a project that strictly pays out per kilometer. So how many kilometers I drive back and forth each day versus you, it's going to be a little bit different. But I try to use about the same amount of numbers. And again, it's about 62 cents. As far as announcements go with them, they've had an app update announcement. That's about it. Automatic retries on upload failures, clear error messages for missing files, improved scanning and upload logging, optimized file validation. That's about the only announcements that they've had. So they're running. No more talk about how the staking's going. I'm curious on that. At one point, if you staked a certain amount of ROVR tokens, you would get a light cone for the top of your vehicle. I thought that was a awesome deal that they were doing. Very positive for the project. I know at least one person in my live on Tuesday and Thursday nights that tells us how well he's doing, and he's doing very well with the light cones right now. No, I'm using a tarantula with my numbers, but for a light cone, he is doing very well, especially on some out of state trips that he does. Yeah, you're getting like 16, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 16 tokens per kilometer or something like that. So even at this price, that's a little bit down from a couple of months, he's still doing very well. So the light cone is doing very well for people. All right, Onocoy. Onocoy is one that's actually, I believe, is a little bit up since last week, which again, after that big drop yesterday, is amazing. So congrats to them. But again, my usual negative spiel is how important this project is getting, for how well this project's doing, for how serious this project wants us for us to take them. Why are you still not on CoinMarketCap? Y'all have been mainnet for some time now, months and months. There's no reason why you can't be showing up on CoinMarketCap. The only way to really check it is using Bird Eye or Deck Screen or something like that. And like I said, around the 13th, we were around 0.017. We're up to 0.018. So hey, it's a nice little increase since last week. Some announcement that they've had is they have did a buyback and burn report. They've had 354,000 Ono bought back from the open market, 88,000 Ono permanently burned, 265,000 Ono allocated contributor reward pool. Every burn tightens the supply, and I'm not trying to sling mud at any certain projects, but certain projects that keep thinking that burning doesn't work. Maybe this is why when you look at this, it's not as bad as what some other projects are doing. I don't know. I mean, I guess when you look at from the total of the month, but I don't know. Did they burn on the 15th? But at least for the numbers for the week, it's not doing bad. Again, I know there's certain projects that don't want to talk about burning and all this stuff like that, but in some projects talking about even possibly getting away from burning, I am dead set against that. because what you can do with the money, you know, I'm not a tokenomics expert, but burning works. There's several projects that have been doing it for a long time, and it works. They do have another contest. Onocoy as help us improve Onocoy and win 2,500 Ono. Open up the floor to most important people, you, and morning with us. What they're looking for, anything that helps us make Onocoy better, things you could improve, features or processes. Y'all can go read about it. And, you know, you'll select one winner within the next 3 weeks, then you'll receive 2,500 Ono, and you fill out this form. So go to the Discord, check out announcements, and you'll see that for Onocoy. So win you some Onocoy if you want. All right, moving on. Number 5 is going to be ENTROPY. Not much movement from ENTROPY at all. We're still making about the same amount of tokens. Price came up a tad since last week. Not much to go crazy over, but hey, it's better than going down a tad. Making about 32 cents, but there's nothing really going on in ENTROPY. You know, you're hoping that something comes to resurrect this. I still have 7 of my devices going, 3 ESP32 DIYs and 4 Ashlers. I have not sold any. I did not transfer any to that thing I was telling y'all about at the beginning of the video, about moving a lot of my projects, these crappier tokens, to Solana, like I was talking about. I have not did that to Entropy. I have not sold any out of my 7 wallets. So we'll just keep collecting. I do have my snake whale for sale. I think it's cool. I have it listed for 3 Solana. I haven't had any bites yet, but you know, we'll see. It's not doing anything in my wallet. I should have sold it a long time ago, but that's usually my decision. I usually hold on to everything too long. Crypto, NFTs, everything. So I have a whale for sale and I have a snake for sale on Magic Eden. So we'll see what happens with that. Moving on is 375 AI. Now, this is another token that has not moved at all since last week. It was at 0.029, it's at 0.028 right now, which again, I'm repeat myself, but for the fact that how bad of a drop we had last night, this is actually pretty good. One complaint that I'm seeing from several people, including myself, that I've witnessed myself, but several people in my YouTube live on Tuesday and Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Central Time, a lot of people complaining that you're seeing our rewards drop for our scanning, on the scanning of the app. I know that's not what the whole project is pivoting around. You know, the whole project is for the edge stuff that's on billboards and stuff that costs $24,000. But a lot of us are just scanning devices, scanning with our phone as we drive around. But it just seems like the rewards are taking a drastic cut compared to what we were getting before. So I'm curious to see if that's a trend that keeps going, if that's going to be reversed at any point. I'm driving the same, basically the same distances now that I do every month with hunting season, driving out of states. I'm driving basically through 2 states, 2.5, 3 hours away from my house, driving around up there. I've also been trying to even take different routes so that I can map a new area for 375 and also CapturGO, which we'll talk about that shortly. So I am mapping new areas. So it ain't the same spots over and over. I change up how I go back and forth to work, so I'm not doing the same route. But 375 AI rewards have come down. There are no announcements at all from 375 AI or anything like that. On their Discord, at least, there's no updates at all. However, on their X, there is an update. It says there's an app update loading. Now, I will tell y'all, I don't know exactly when this app update is going to drop. I haven't seen it yet. I just tried updating on my phone. It's not there. You know, when they did talk about testnet loading soon, it took about 4 months after that. So I'm just letting y'all know. I don't think it's going to take that long for an app, but this is kind of showing y'all how the edge thing works. That's on a billboard. You can see this is what it looks like on their side. I still don't get it, what the hell it does. You know, I don't get what it's a counter. You can pay somebody sit there with a clicker. Like, I don't know. Somebody help me out. I don't know what This is data points per vehicle. You know, we'll see. That is 375 AI. Again, I think it's going to be a good project in the future. I don't know how much we're going to do with these scanning, but it seems like that edge stuff. At one point, you were supposed to be able to split an edge with a couple of people, so you didn't have to pay the whole 24,000 or 16,000, whatever the hell it was going to cost. And they were supposed to come out with a couple of different devices for edge, that AI edge or whatever, that wasn't going to cost nearly that much. I've not heard anything more about that. It was on their website during beta, so we'll keep an ear to the ground and see what happens with 375 AI. Moving on, Natix. I'll tell y'all, Natix is another product. Like I said, there were several of them that when you look at a snapshot from last week to this week, 7 days ago, the price was 0.00026. Like, how crazy is that? It is crazy that there's several projects, even though we had that big drop last night. But you know, looking at it, it was at 0.0026. It had a pretty decent jump to 0.0003, basically, and then came right back down, and it kind of went sideways. But again, you had that big drop last night and you don't even see it on here really. So maybe is it because there's not as much volume? They got $500,000 worth of volume in 24 hours. I don't know. As far as announcements, the only announcements that they have right now, and I checked the X also, but the only announcement they have right now is about the January HODL, which is live, and you know, you can win a Ray-Ban Meta Gen 2 smart glasses. So interested in some glasses, go check it out. Hodling Natix right now. And I moved about 75% of mine over to that Solana thing I was telling y'all about. A lot actually. Natix is the one that won't let you move it for 30 days, which pissed me off because I'm not staking it. Never signed up for staking. But when you want to move your tokens off that wallet or whatever it is, that app, it takes 30 days. Again, I'm not staking. So that, I think that's a little chicken mess, if you get my drift. I didn't like how that went down, but it is what it is. I'm still running it. It's a free product. I got a phone to run it on. It's a free project. I mean, so I just run it, and you know, we'll see. I can tell you right now, if it continues to pay $3.73, eventually I'm just gonna get bored and not run it no more. But for right now, I'm still running it and see what happens. DIMO, another project. Like I told you earlier, another project that has not moved at all since 7-day snapshot. Now, it did move a little bit during the week, 0.0012 up to 0.0014, and then back down. So it did survive kind of that hit, but I don't know how much. And look, I know I'm being negative. I know I'm spreading FUD. Save your comments, because you can try to defend this project all you want, but the project's on life support. What you're seeing now is you're actually seeing some of the people who were working in the project. Shao Funk was one of the guys that he is no longer, does not have a tag next to his name. And Oswaldo actually asked what happened to Shao Funk, you know, right here. And somebody says, well, why don't you just go ask him? So he comes back and says, I did, and found out that he is no longer working on DIMO. Shao Funk helped me a lot with a lot of stuff. And again, I'm not looking super deep into this. I'm not going to sit here and spread FUD or anything like that. But there's no announcements from this project at all. You know, they have an AI serve concierge. That's nothing to do with the project. Like, what the hell's going on with this project? They were combining with Fry. Don't get me started on Fry. You don't see a push for subscriptions. I'm kind of wondering, what happens? Are people going to keep their subscriptions going? What happens if subscriptions go out? Um, they claim to be just a service, a bridge for your data that you could be able to sell to people. I don't know. But when you're making 7 cents a day on DIMO, and again, I got a streak going for months, probably a year, if not longer, on my devices, probably 2 years, because I never ROI'd on this thing. These devices were $89 a piece. I had reached an ROI at some point earlier last year, but then fell right back under ROI. So unless you sold it right then and that exact time, you never ROI'd on it. So it's just sad. It's sad what DIMO has become. We talked about that in my live also, between DIMO and HiveMapper and some of these other projects that were so big 2024ish, 2025, beginning of 2025. I don't know what happened to them. All right, moving on to number 9 is going to be Silencio. Look, I'm not going to even lie to y'all. I still haven't pulled my raffle tickets for November. Why? Like, I know it's going to be. It's going to be under $3. And that's just from staking. So look, I'm not expecting, I'm not running to me, this is two separate. I know I say the same thing every week. I'm sorry. This is two separate projects now. Are they even putting effort into the whole sound readings thing anymore? This project is main focus now is these AI voice things. And hey, I'm hoping they can turn it around. It seems like it has promise. If you're bored and want to sit in front of the computer and read some paragraphs off, it pays $10, $12 an hour, maybe something like that, depending on which, what they have going on, which is more than what all these projects put together do in a day. So if you want to sit here for an hour because you're bored and you want to read, especially if you're bilingual and some of these other languages, I think Silencio could possibly turn around in the future if there's a market for it. Like they're trying to claim there's a market for it. They say that there is. That's why you're seeing some of the bonuses for certain voices, or certain languages. But you're just not seeing it reflecting token price. But part of that, I think, is the AI voice thing through the website. When you sit here in front of the computer and talk, pays you in USDC. They're not even using their Silencio token for it. Can somebody explain that to me? I mean, it's like it's a completely separate project. Now, could some be paid in Silencio? Because you still have to link a wallet. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm getting paid for the couple of paragraphs that I've read off and stuff. I haven't even gone back and looked at it. I think Silencio, again, it was at 0.00010 last week, and it's at 0.00. Actually, just hit 110 as we making this video. It did go up to 0.00012, then back down. So it does have 80,000 in volume, which is not hardly anything. But again, it's on peak. Some people still can't figure out how to even get a peak wallet. I think it's very piss poor on their part. MetaMask is what I used to move some of my Silencio off to my little Solana thing I was telling y'all about. But look, you got iGate with 16,000, KuCoin with 7,000, MEXC, the Dollar General mix of CEXs, 54,000. Like, but again, the only thing I think Silencio is using right now, the Silencio token, is you going around with the venues. And from what I'm seeing from people and hearing from people, they're not even messing with that anymore. They're doing the AI voice thing. So maybe this will explain a little bit of my question I just asked. They're officially closing the Swahili and Amharic language campaigns as USDC funded, and these languages will now be available as in-app coin only tasks going forward. So I guess what it is if there's actually a campaign, they're paying that in USDC, which then you don't have to worry about what the token price is because that's a stable coin of $1. And then if there's no campaigns going on or anything like that, you can you're just gonna get paid in Silencio tokens. So apparently they're having some issues with people trying to cheat and stuff, which is what's new in crypto. But how payments work on Silencio Voice AI is paid since the note file. But onboard honestly, only select languages you truly speak in your real country of birth. Fake info will get you banned with no rewards. They're worried about good quality. Record your voice. Join eligible campaigns. Follow instructions. Speak naturally. Good mic, no background noise. Recordings are reviewed for clarity, speed, noise. We're working on making this faster. Any synthetic or AI voices, immediate ban. I talked about this in my live. I figured this was coming. Somebody's going to set up a computer to read a paragraph, to speak in AI, and then try to get paid like that, which now you can get immediately banned for that. Number 4, approved recordings earn in-app coins and qualify for USDC rewards if purchased. Coins can be used as raffle tickets and stuff like that. Client purchase. This was note 5 they want us to look at. Client purchases USDC payouts. You get paid only if a client purchases your data. $10 USDC per hour spoken language. Pauses don't count, and low quality data has much lower chance of being purchased. We always announce data sales and payouts on social media. Thousands of USDC across multiple campaigns from last month are currently being paid out. Remember, USDC campaigns are direct requests from clients. So the quicker we collect the data, the quicker you get paid out. So wait a minute. You get paid only for data if a client purchases your data. Does that mean if I sit here for an hour and speak and they don't like my South Louisiana Cajun dialect English, even though they're trying to buy English words and voice, they technically might not buy my actual recordings? Or does that mean that if there is a deal going on for English, somebody's buying the data, we'll all get paid? I'm curious about that. Get paid, earn $2 from data delivered by your referral, same quality. So how payments work. Update on validator. They're having issues with the validator. And it's taking longer than normal to validate your recordings. How payments work. Go ahead and read all this. I'm spending way too much time. Important update for English campaign participants in Nigeria and Kenya. Looking, they're no longer eligible for general English language recording. Thanks to incredible contributions. Y'all can go read all this. Payout today. We're excited to announce transactions are being processed right now for all remaining English campaigns submitted up to New Year's Eve. So they're 20 days behind on payouts. You might want to keep up. If y'all doing this, you might want to keep up. Again, hey, I look at it as, if you want to be involved with Silencio, this is a good way to get involved. Even though it might take you some time to get paid, you might be getting paid $10 an hour. I think there's a limit of how much you can do at some point. So you can't sit there all day and do 10 hours worth. I don't think you can, but look into it. I have a referral code below for Silencio. If you join it, you do get a bonus for joining and using my code. So there you go. All right, moving on to our next one. The next is going to be Weather XM. Same thing I'm going to say that I said about the other rest of the projects. Price hasn't moved since 7 days ago. It has moved a tad. Still making about 2 tokens a day. As you can see, it's at 0.0036 last week. It came up to 4.5 cents actually, real quick, and then came back down. Went up again at 4.5 cents. Then you had the little drop from last night, and it's at 3.5 cents now. There is absolutely no information, no announcements, nothing coming at all from Weather XM. You don't hear nothing. And at this point, I start to question, as me as a weather geek, but I start to question how much faith do I even have in weather DePin projects as a whole right now. Name a successful one. Nubila is an absolute crap show. I really want to use the S word, but I don't want to get in trouble. We're going to talk about Nubila. I don't even want to get started on it yet, but it's people like, well, Nubila sucks so bad, we're going back to Weather XM. Really? You're going to make 7 cents. 7 cents. And you got people who say, we'll just be in there for the tech. Well, that's fine. You want to be in there for the tech, but you still have to have some new blood coming into projects. You can't rest on who you have currently in this project. And then when you see that there's your cheapest station to get on this project, and first of all, we don't know what the future helium is going to be. We're going to talk about that shortly. 4G LTE, at some point, you got to pay for a service, and it's $900. So the only thing left is the D1 Wi-Fi, which is one I have here, which is way more stable than the other one, which was different kind that I had, M5 at my office. But even at $400, let's have some jokes. You ready? You're looking at $400 at 7 cents a day, and it's going to take you roughly 5,714 days to ROI, and you're looking at about 15 years. Who's buying stations for this? Do you really feel that good about WeatherXM? It's kind of like me and BrushO. Do I think I'm getting a Lambo, or I'm gonna be able to pay even my light bill a month with BrushO? No, but I wanted an electric toothbrush, and it fell into my hands that, hey, they got some that are more expensive than that. They got some a little bit cheaper than that, but hey, I might as well get it and make a little bit of residual income. Some people might feel like that. Hey, if you need a weather station, they got some weather stations out there, like my Davis, that I love. The best weather station that I've ever found. They're $1,000. Before you go spend $1,000, you can buy your Weather XM, make it 7 cents a day. Maybe the token goes back up to what it was back. Maybe it goes back to 10 cents a day. I don't know. But hey, if you want a weather station for the house, you get a Weather XM. Make a little bit of residual income, a little passive income, right? But don't buy it for the income side of it. 5,000 days to get your money back. That hurts. There's no updates at all on Weather XM on that Discord. Nothing. All right, even though you already kind of saw the sneak peek of it, but moving on is going to be Nubila. I don't know what the hell is going on with Nubila. Nubila had a crazy price increase. When you look at what's been going on for the last 3 or 4 months with Nubila, I had to make sure I was really looking at the right Nubila when I saw this. You have 815,000 in volume. It is up 40% for the week, and at one point was up more than that. It was at 0.0026 last week, and it was actually up to almost 5 cents. I'm sorry, 0.005 cents, a half a cent. And then it has come back down. And it actually went up during this whole catastrophic thing we had yesterday. So I don't know really what's going on. There are no announcements at all, nothing from the team at all. Nothing to make anybody feel better. A lot of deleted messages going on. I don't know what this was. People still complain about not getting paid. I can't log into mine even using my wallet anymore. And when I do, it doesn't show any of my nodes or anything like that. It doesn't show my my Nubila station, the Marco. I don't know what the hell's going on. You got this real long-winded message about somebody named Darren and what's going on, and basically he runs down how much market cap they got, and it seems like they rugged or something like that. But again, we don't know that for a fact. But when you look at what their price, what happened with this price, I've always said that there's something mysterious going on. But what caused this price action all of a sudden to go up? And if it was something positive from the project, why not announce it? I know one thing that people have said about, including myself, is that it seems like every day there is something on their X. And it just looks completely AI generated. Like there's something that's AI that's putting random announcements out every day. It's stuff like this. Talking about weather, but nothing about the actual project. And I have made some comments, and there's several people that made comments that what the hell's going on with the project and that kind of stuff like that. And of course, you have your fanboys that for some reason, these are AI people also that want to respond and stuff. But I don't know what the hell's going on with Nubila. I don't know. All right, moving on. Next is going to be helium. Talking about things that just don't make sense. We don't know what's going on with the IoT side. I only deal with the IoT side. I've never gotten involved with the mobile side. I saw the writing on the wall. And when I make that comment, you have people in my live who sit there, some agree with me and some argue with me. It seems like success on the mobile side of helium has been very hit and miss. I guess if you were involved in the CBRS stuff and you thought you were going to put this cell sector router antenna on top of your house and people were going to be able to use their cell phones off your sector antenna, you were going to make bank. And because that fell through, you didn't make nothing. And of course, they try giving you a Wi-Fi offload device, which don't do nothing inside your house. There's not enough data volume going through it. You know, it's some people only did the Wi-Fi offloading in bars and coffee shops and stuff, and for them, it's been very lucrative. Even that, it wasn't that super duper great in payouts. When I say lucrative, again, I saw the writing on the wall. I didn't mess with it. I saw how much the IoT side fell. I know I don't. I say on there I have 17 stations online. I don't even have 17 stations online, and it's just quite sad that with I don't. Something needs to happen with the IoT side. It's either pull the plug on it, but you can't pull the plug on it because WeatherXM and DIMO and some of these other projects are using it. But again, you have less stations now online than you've had since probably 2022. And even with the halvings, we're still making a mere fraction of what we did when there was 200,000 stations on there. And again, that's not included, or that's including, I'm making 4 cents a day right now with stations that are getting 20 to 25 witnesses, 4 cents, which means per the halving, or was it last year, whenever the last halving was, that was 8 cents. And then before that halving was 16 cents. We were making well more than 16 cents. More than 0.03 HNT. You can't even go off the price of the token. We're making more than 0.0369.1 HNT a day with 200,000 stations. If you can follow all that. But I don't know. Moving on. Talk to them about helium. Grass, Jesus. People say there's payouts coming. Some people are saying payouts not coming. We're on a new epoch. Price is still going down a little bit. You got some people on some fanboys on X that are trying to say that, watch for a price increase right before payout. We had a very good price increase when we got paid out, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Maybe that happens again. And I'm not even showing the Discord because I'm not getting triggered. It's the same usual deal. You got people, I don't know if they're new in it or what, but grass is going to be so great. Grass is real world project, real world data. And, we're going to get paid and all stuff like that. And I'm like, I just got a feeling that this is going to be bad. I don't know. Again, I'm spreading bad FUD and I'm sorry, but you have over 1 million people supposedly, from what they say, 1 million people participating in this. You're not going to get beta tokens like we did in the last payout. Some people complained about last time's payout, and you got beta bonuses with it for being involved in alpha and beta. You're not going to have that this time. So, and then with this token price, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be bad. Now, does everybody quit? Hell no, because you got this running on devices on the side. I got people asking me all the time, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. It all matters what's happening. I can tell you right now. Last time my tokens went up over $1,000 worth. As usual, Grumpy held on too long. I went and staked them. And as the price went down, I didn't unstake them. Well, I have them all unstaked now. I can tell you right now, I'm holding, watching what the price does, and at some point I'm offloading. I just question this project. I question any project that doesn't see a problem. They see no problem with only rewarding their contributors once every 2 years. When they've already rewarded before, so it's not like they have to invent nothing new. To me, they're doing stall tactics. We need to invent a new wallet. Why? Solana's got plenty of wallets. what you had before in the last payout worked fine. To me, it's a stall tactic. Then they talk about this new device they're doing, stall tactic. But the cheerleaders on Discord seem to love it, and you know, I can't wait for payout. Not for the reason you think, not because I'm gonna get some money. I can't wait to see the fallout. I think there's gonna be fallout. There's a reason why the grass is in the last place of my thing. Wingbits. Wingbits has an AMA stage today because y'all be watching this video Tuesday this morning at 9:30. I'm gonna try to release this video out good 3 or 4 hours before, so that maybe some of y'all will see it. And as usual, I'd like to see as many people as possible try to at least check in on this so that they can see the amount of people who are still interested, the amount of people who are intrigued on what's going on, that we give a shit on what's going on with this project. Now, it's a question. I think there's going to be some pretty good announcements. You know, we saw a hint on Twitter about possibly a new piece of equipment. What it is, me and my live were talking about it the other day. We saw a shaded out picture of it last week on my live, and we all kind of took guesses on what it's going to be, and we'll see. We don't know if that's going to be announced today. We don't know if they're going to say anything about TGE today. I know they're going to be discussing it. Whether or not they give us a day, I don't know. You know, at one point somebody mentioned, I don't want to put any words in their mouth, but I could have sworn he mentioned possibly towards the end of January, towards the end of Q1. There's been absolutely no talk about it. So I'm curious to see what they say tomorrow. I will be taking notes. We will be discussing it on tonight's live, Tuesday night's live, and I will do a full video as kind of a recap on it also. So make sure you get in there on the Discord. 9:30 a.m. is Central Time in the United States, so adjusted for your time. If you go to Discord, this time actually adjusts for your time zone. All right, moving on. Next is going to be 4D Sky. 4D Sky, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about it. It seems to be getting a lot more interest. It's the price tag that people are asking me about, and you know, I can't, you know, answer that question whether or not it's worth it or not. You have no idea what these rewards are going to be. I can tell you this: there is a lot of speculation going on right now in this project. I can't stand this. Again, this is me being grumpy. Even though 2026, I'm not gonna be grumpy no more. I'm trying to be positive. I can't stand this when they make it a competition. I can tell you this right now. Speaking to the Wingbits team behind the scenes and in Discord and stuff like that, both of them, they've never said a negative word about this project. Not one negative word. And it seems like 4D Sky is making this out to be like a competition. You know, just like with Geodnet, you can have two projects that do the same thing. There's room in this to do to do the same thing. And not only that, but 4D Sky, I thought they made it sound like they were trying to push for drone and capture drones. But then I question that because me going through drone and different training that I've been on, especially with drone detection and stuff, the drone stuff hasn't even been finalized yet. So how do they know it's going to be 978 or 1090 or anything like that when that hasn't even been finalized yet? There's a lot of drone detection companies out there, some with some big 3-letter names on them, or that they're affiliated with. It's a tough market. I'm telling you that right now, it's a tough market. But this would be one of the things where I get to go back on Grumpy's rule. Grumpy's rule number 1. I told you so. But we'll see. Look, I got a 4D Sky station. I'm mining it every day, collecting it every day. I do find that the devices are pretty good. Seems to be pretty sensitive. I have this antenna on a 20-foot pole in my backyard. I have a video talking about it, showing it off, and I found that with this setup at 20 feet, I'm doing better than my DIY helium station that is 40 feet up on my ham tower in my backyard. So the station is good for $985. So, now again, don't forget, with the Grumpy code, you will get a maybe a discount. At one point, they weren't giving discounts because it's a new thing. I don't know. They've sold through batch 5, sold out. So these devices are, some people saying some have 50 in batch 5, some have less, some have, in the previous batches, each batch, or 100 or whatever it was. But either way, they still only have a fraction of what Wingbits has. Now, I will talk about my boy Tech Hustler. Tech Hustler does a video yesterday or the day before yesterday talking about 4D Sky has signed an agreement with NATO. I know my boy got punched in the head a couple of times during his MMA training. I can't find anything on that. If y'all can find it, let me know. I checked 4D Sky's Discord. I've checked their X account, checked their website. Like, I don't see it now. If it was announced somewhere, but to me, I don't know where he's getting it from. I'm not saying it's not correct either. I'm just saying I'd like to be able to substantiate that. NATO is made up of several different countries. So why wouldn't those countries sign up if that was the case? NATO. But again, I'm just looking at the Discord just again one more time just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I haven't seen it. So y'all can go check Tech Hustler's X channel if y'all want to see that announcement. Um, I don't know. I do have a link below to get to Helium Deploy to get to the 4D skies. So if you are thinking about looking at the 4D skies, please use that link below. I get a little bit of credit just for y'all clicking on the link to even go look at the 4D sky. So please just help me out and look at that. And we'll see what happens with 4D sky. All right, moving on to next is going to be Mastchain. I saw that there was an announcement earlier on their Discord. So I was saying, I saw earlier that they made a little announcement that they made 500 users on board now. So I heard they're growing. The project has grown a lot in just what we've been dealing with. It's a little over 2 months, 2.5 months when it really took off. I still see people asking questions about antennas and stuff like that. Guys, look, use a quality antenna. You use a piss poor antenna, you get piss poor results. Then you're in the Discord asking questions. I would not go use an AliExpress, Alibaba, whatever the hell they are. I don't know why people insist on using that website for all kinds of stuff. Hey, and every now and then it's cool to get something from there that's a little bit cheaper, but majority of stuff on there is trash. And if it's no name clone knockoffs, and you're buying an AIS antenna for $20, and you're going to get $20 worth of results. I understand you don't want to put a lot of money into this project yet. I can completely understand it. It's new, but antenna usually is the most important part. Look at the Wingbit stations. People argue with me over and over about Wingbit stations. We have this atmospheric thing going on tonight, and I'm sure if I check my Wingbit stations, it's probably tomorrow night if I check it, it's going to be rocking, because whenever these atmospheric ducting starts happening with northern lights and stuff, your ranges are normally pretty extended. But use a quality antenna. Shakespeare or one of these ones we've talked about on from like Amazon. I know people have this thing right now, like they don't want to give Jeff Bezos money. Look, Jeff Bezos is a billionaire with a wife half his age or whatever she is. He ain't worried about if you buy a $30 antenna or $60 antenna or $90 antenna or not. Your $90 ain't gonna make no difference to him. So buy a quality antenna, set up a quality station, get that antenna as high as possible. You don't have to worry about stupidly long feed lines because you don't have that much loss at VHF. Just put a quality station together and you'll get quality results. And that's what I'm gonna leave it as for now. So we don't have to make this video too much longer than it already is. All right, so moving on past that, and there's no official announcement right now on Mastchain at all, other than there's supposed to be an announcement coming very soon for a device that they're gonna sell, ready to go device. BrushO, don't really know anything going on. I just know I'm brushing constantly. The Telegram seems very active, but no news announcements or anything like that from BrushO. Again, I'm brushing twice a day. And like I said earlier in this video, whatever happens, happens. I wanted an electric toothbrush. It worked out. I was able to get one. And I know Helium Deploy recently went up a little bit on price, but if you want a BrushO, make a little bit of passive income Again, we don't know. They haven't gone full TGE, even though they're issuing out brush tokens to your app. It's not full TGE yet. You can't do anything with the tokens, but we'll see what happens. And I'm ranking these last two kind of on how I feel about them. So for the next one, CapturGO. Now, CapturGO has not had an official announcement since New Year's Eve. That's been 20 days now. Um, I will say though, their social media, along with their Discord, is very active, even though there's been no official announcements from this project. They have a little over 1,000 members of their Discord, so that's pretty active. But nothing really new what's going on with the project or any kind of announcements or updates. And like I said, their social media, X and stuff, which doesn't mean nothing for me because again, you look at Nubila where that team is like absent right now, but yet somebody's posting every day. You know, it's the same stuff every day about V2. There's a new update coming. Yes, we're ready for it. Send it out. Um, Passive mining. You got Osvaldo that I thought I had a lot of stuff on my dashboard. Here he is, but he's still running Hive Mapper. Token Run. That's a new one for me. I haven't heard of Token Run before. But nothing really big news on the project other than this version 2 whenever that's coming out. All right. Last but not least is Combinder. I'm getting a little concerned with Combinder. Looking at the Telegram, if I'm looking at the Telegram correctly, which I might not be, but it appears they have not had any kind of update since last Wednesday, which has been 6 days. That's a little concerning. And it seems like the Telegram, as far as the community chat, is starting to become um I don't know. There's just not really anything going on. Again, this is another project I told y'all and I warned y'all about. I needed smart plugs, so I was able. Now, last we heard from Combinder, they were talking about adding more spark plug brands. At first, you could only use Shelly plugs, which the Shelly plugs couldn't stock them fast enough. So that kind of slowed things down. They're saying they're adding more people, but again, you're looking. There hasn't been an announcement since New Year's. Community chat hasn't had nobody talk on it since last Tuesday, which has been a week now. Community contributions hasn't had nobody talk since last Wednesday. It's you know, I would hope that the kind of like some of these other ones. I really wish they would go to a Discord type thing, but either way, nobody's talking on it. So I am a little worried about Combined. I'm not really press the panic button yet. And as far as the X concerned, it's not really going on that either. Um, you see that they reposted something 5 days ago, reposted something 6 days ago, reposted something 10 days ago. So their last original post was 12 days ago. I don't know. Hopefully they just work on stuff from behind the scenes. So wrapping that up, I continue to do these videos. Y'all ask for them, even though a lot of projects ain't updating. We're kind of in this lull right now. Um, I see a lot of negative stuff online too with certain people, um, whether it's X, Discord, or anything like that, thinking DePin's dead, crypto's dead, crypto's always going to be manipulated. I don't know. Um, Certain DePin projects, if you time it right, you can make some pretty decent money. Is it a gimmick sometimes? If that's the word you want to use, I don't know what word you want to use. When you invest into a business, like whether it's stocks or something like that, normally you don't have this kind of game you have to play where, hey, when this business opens, I bought these stocks. When this business opens, or when this certain thing happens, I need to hurry up and sell right in the beginning. Because if I stay in this business long term, I'm going to lose money and I'm end up going start making 9 cents a day. Normally, you don't have that with stocks, and you know. I'm not gonna sit here and ever say that everything in DePin is a scam or it's unsustainable. but it's kind of hard to argue with them. Now, you hope that some of these newer projects coming break that norm. Wingbits, 4D Sky, Mastchain, you know, Geodnet right now is still kind of holding at that $1.89, but I think that's why I'm so pissed off with this halving coming, because in the next year or two, it's not, because it's going to be halved. So, right now you're making $1.89. So that means you're going to be making 95 cents in 6 months. And then a year after that, you might be making 35 cents, something like that. Depending on what the token does. To me, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So I don't know. You look at some of these other projects and you just DIMOs and Weather XM, the Nubilas and Helium. How can you argue with some of these people that are saying the things they're saying about DePin projects? I take a quote from Tech Hustler. He said, you need to be in it for the tech. But I take it from, and I forget who else, I forget who it is. I hate not to give him props for saying this, but he said it several times in his videos when I watched them. We're not doing charity work either. You wouldn't go to work tomorrow and expect not to be paid. So you're working DePin and you're running these DePin projects, and there's nothing wrong with expecting to get paid. Some people call it greediness. I don't call it greediness. I want to get paid. I'm going to be level-headed about it, meaning I know I'm not going to get crazy money for working it, but I should get something worth my effort. But, we'll see. So again, tonight, Thursday night, we'll be doing a live. Tonight's live, we'll be discussing what we heard on Wingbits, and I should be doing a separate video on that also, probably. But make sure you're in that Wingbits AMA if you're part of that project, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with this project. We'll see what happens with the crypto market in general. They're saying Tuesday could be a bloody day in stocks and crypto. Of course, if stocks and crypto and all these markets crash, what they're going to say, crypto's horrible, crypto can't sustain nothing, and nobody's going to mention stocks. But I saw a couple of things on X talking about, with all this talk and all this stuff going on around over the weekend around the country and tariffs and all this stuff like that, prepare for a rocky day in the stock market tomorrow. Who knows? We all know that when crypto is supposed to zig, it zags. It could have a great day tomorrow. Who knows? Sometimes people take money out of the stock market and put it into crypto. It's like a little shelter thing. I don't know. I still think part of all this crypto down part is, if you remember when stocks were going really bad under the last president, people were taking their money out of stocks and putting it into crypto. And I think now the stock markets are going up so much. Also, gold and silver going up so much right now with this president and with things that are going on. I think people are taking their money out of crypto and putting it back into those stocks, even though they're kind of late for that. But I saw on X, there was an article about that. I think it was on X, one of these things I was reading, a link to it or something like that. But we'll see what happens. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all the support as usual. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and we'll try to keep up with everything going on. Thank you all for watching. See you all next video.